Hello and welcome back to the Fit for Business Life podcast. The Fit for Business Life podcast is brought to you in partnership with Sharp Fit for Life and the Business Body Network, improving the performance and transforming overweight, busy, overwhelmed professionals and their teams that includes business owners, consultants, entrepreneurs to become even more happier, fitter and more confident. The Fit for Business Life podcast is all about sharing passion, knowledge and expertise around business and personal performance from our hosts, myself, Martin Sharp, a 30-year change maker in businesses large and small, along with Dominic, a world traveller and life enthusiast, plus special guests sharing their know-how and experience in making changes in business and in themselves. Featuring inspirational stories, insights, tips and practical know-how, bringing more healthier, happier and higher achievements to your world.
Why not follow us on Spotify? We're also on Apple Podcasts and Amazon Music. If you're watching this on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and drop us a like. We very much appreciate all of your support.
So sit back and enjoy this episode of the Fit for Business Life podcast, brought to you in partnership with Sharp Fit for Life and the Business Body Network.
Right, holiday season is coming and meals are a big part of it. This is definitely the episode I'm most excited to talk about.
That's because you like food.
I love food and I'm just very passionate about
Yeah, and we're about 5.5 weeks away from the big Christmas dinner.
Yeah, 5 weeks, and about 5 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. So so I'm gonna have to get the oven prepped. Gonna get all the veggies prepped.
Hopefully the oven. Do you remember that year our oven broke on Christmas Day? That's something, eh?
That was interesting. So, in all honesty, though, the oven broke after it finished cooking. Thank God for that.
Yeah.
But yes, that was an interesting moment when the oven kind of stopped working. I was like, oh, how much is cooked? How much is not cooked? And what did I have to do with the remainder of it?
Yeah. Well, funnily enough, my first question today was going to be, what does healthy eating actually look like in December for you? And maybe a top tip there is break your oven. But maybe before you've cooked the Christmas dinner. But yeah, that is my first question of today. What does it look like for you in December eating healthy?
Okay, so first of all, don't break your oven. That's definitely not a good idea. But eating healthy in December is really about, it's keeping that whole idea of rhythm and mindset and mindful eating, etc., but not aiming for perfection. Realizing that there are going to be some days which you're not going to go to plan. But that is just one day, it's one moment. But as soon as you've kind of done that, there's nothing stopping you kind of having that reset moment and coming back onto your plan. So, for example, if you know that through December you've got a Christmas party to go for work, you might have a family Christmas party, you might have your friends having a Christmas party, etc. You've got maybe 3, 4, 5 moments in that period where you can already plan and know that that's going to be where you're off task. And in which case, no problem. What we need to do then is think about, what are you going to be eating during that meal, and then actually how are you then going to reset yourself afterwards. So you've already got that planned into your diary, planned into your mind.
Yeah, that is definitely that's a good idea.
I'm glad you like it.
Anything else on that? Because I wanted to say, especially around this time of year is probably worse for it. It is a big problem. What I see with people dieting is there's so much restriction on what they eat, and they might even see this time of year as even more of a must restrict through December, and then it will get to a time like a Christmas Day or a party, or perhaps just Christmas is done, New Year's done, the New Year's started, and then suddenly comes a huge wave of overindulgence.
Yeah,
and that is something that I do tell people to be aware of, I suppose. Because you're suppressing all these things, your brain wants these dopamine hits of all these nice things, and you're through good measure just making sure that it doesn't happen. You're keeping your no-go strong, you're not indulging in these things, and then suddenly you turn that tap on and it just gets more and more ferocious. And then we were saying in the last episode though, for different reasons, you might have set that goal to lose this weight, you've done great, and then suddenly you've turned that faucet on faucet, American, what's happening? But yeah, and then suddenly you put all that weight back on, and then you're back to where you were. So yeah,
and that's same as what happens with a lot of people on holidays. They have that kind of 3 months beforehand to get themselves beach ready.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden they go on holiday, they start eating, drinking, etc. And by the time they come back after 2 weeks, they look worse than what they did 3 months beforehand. And it's not only that, but it's impacted their life as well at that point in time. So when it comes down to just trying to keep a steady pace, it's realizing these things are going to happen and enjoy it. That's the whole point. In fact, if you're trying to restrict yourself, like you were saying, all the time, then that's going to create an amount of stress inside you anyway
Yeah,
that you're
which
trying to manage.
sucks because I have like been down that road before, and it's not the one. It's not the one.
Definitely not. And that buildup of like cortisol and adrenaline and everything else that's kind of going on, it's as bad for you as kind of just the eating. So sometimes it's a case of, stop worrying about it, get yourself into a nice mental place, and then start to work from there. So the fact is, if you have the Christmas dinner, enjoy it. It's there to be enjoyed.
Yeah. So I would say, because it's like, as you say, like you need to not worry about it because you create that stress and that cortisol that's worse for you. But I think it is important to stay very mindful.
Yeah.
Like still be like participating in mindful eating. So like if you're kind of aware that you're like deviating from your like plan that you want to stick to, at least be mindful of it, but don't be stressed about it. Because then you can like recalibrate, and like maybe just do something a bit different the next day, like do a bit more exercise or eat a little bit less, kind of thing. If that is your one goal, like we are talking about food today, so it makes sense. But yeah, like don't be stressed, but be mindful.
Yeah, and there is some things, for example, when you think about the mindful eating, that you can kind of take into account as you're going through that process. That's really simple to do. So things like, for example, just start the plate with your protein that you're going to be eating. So if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, then it might be vegetable-based protein, plant-based protein.
Sorry to interject. So this you making a meal right now?
This is you eating the meal. So
Yeah,
again,
one meal though. Are you assembling a plate of food right now?
so no,
Like, is that what you're talking about?
the plate might already be assembled for you. So, for example, if you're going to a Christmas party,
Yeah.
that food might already be there. So, for example, if you're now going to say, "I'm going to eat what's on my plate," then it might be, for example, you just become a bit more mindful. You might look at what you've got from a protein perspective. You look at what you've got from your veggies, your leafy greens, etc. And then maybe you take a decision to say, "Okay, I'm going to have a little bit less of the starchy veggies, things like the rices, the pastas, the potatoes, etc." And then that might be a way of saying, okay, if I take a little bit less of that, then maybe I can have that small slice of Christmas cake, or I might have a cocktail or something. And then all of a sudden you've started to think mindfully, yes, I'm going to enjoy what I'm going to eat, but actually I'm going to now take some decisions and not say no to everything, but I'm going to have less of maybe one thing so I can have something else.
Right. Got you. And then I guess like if you're assembling your own food, any day, I guess, could just be like you're mindful of all that.
Exactly. So if it's like the Christmas banquet type of idea, you've got there with the turkey and the beef and the ham and everything else. You've got all the vegetables on the table. You've got the various different types of potatoes that have been cooked.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's what happens in our house anyway.
And I guess that might be really hard to do at first, but the more and more you do it, by the time you've had like 10 Christmases, it's like second nature, and you probably don't really need to like, because at the start, if you're really into this sort of stuff, you might be like macro calculate and everything. But after a period of time, you just kind of know how your body's going to react to stuff, and like know how to maneuver that plane.
Exactly. And this is one of the things we teach a lot of our clients around. For example, if they're working away a lot, so for example, they might be in hotels and things, or for example, if people are planning going away on holiday, it's just understanding, for example, some of those decisions that you can make. And for example, if it is going to we've got the awards and they'll be coming up soon, it's making those choices, for example, on what I'll be eating and drinking during those awards. And some things you can pre-order, because you might have to pre-order the meal for the day. Brilliant. If you're going out and you're going out with friends, or maybe going out with work, and you know what the menu is for the place you're going, have a look at the menu beforehand. Make a decision, for example, on what you think you might enjoy and what will actually help you towards your goals. Because half the time, you might make a poor decision just in the moment on what you're going to eat because you've kind of got a craving that's happening then. But actually, if you've got that few minutes beforehand when you don't have those cravings, there's no pressure, there's no kind of social kind of things going on there at that moment in time, you can kind of preload your mind with some ideas of actually how you can actually eat better during that situation.
Right, well, that's cool. And speaking of like cravings, which are not always necessarily a bad thing, sometimes it is important to listen to your body, but pick or choose those battles. Do you have any non-negotiable nutrition habits?
Non-negotiable nutrition habits?
Yeah, so do you have like any of these like new, I don't know how to rephrase this. Like, are there any parts of your nutrition, for example, like taking any supplements or anything? Is there anything that's a non-negotiable? Like in the day, you are going to take these, or you're definitely not going to have these things. Like for me, like, is there actually anything that I definitely wouldn't eat other than things I'm allergic to?
I'm going to say that's a fair list. I was really surprised your mum got a tin of coconut milk the other day. I was thinking she's trying to kill you off or something.
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah, just don't look in that cupboard.
But yeah, no, I'm asking you the question. Yeah, is there anything of like nutrition habits that you will not break?
Is there any nutrition habits that I will not break?
Because the answer could be no. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, I think there are, to be honest with you. And again, this is more specifically for me and around how I tend to work. Again, everybody's body's different, so you need to work out what's right for you. And then it's very clear when you start to speak to different people that have different goals in life, and the nutrition has to kind of fit with that goal. So if someone's kind of looking at losing body fat, then that will be one goal. If someone's trying to just improve their sleep quality, that will be a different type of goal. If someone's trying to improve their running performance so they can have faster speed, maybe better endurance, that's a different type of goal. Each one of those has a different kind of nutrition profile. I think for me, though, for what I try to do is my main goals in life, the sort of the bigger overarching goals, it is just really to be able to live a long, happy life. I don't want to get to that last decade, that final decade, which some people call the lost decade, because certainly today, so many people get so ill in that final decade that the reality is their quality of life does deteriorate quite considerably. I don't want to get to that point. I want to be in the point of that final kind of decade. Actually, I might slow down a little bit, but I'm still doing stupidly crazy things. That's my kind of plan, and still supporting and helping a lot of other people. So for me, my goals are always with that kind of longer term intention in my back of my mind. I have shorter term goals as well. So, for example, March we've got my first ever ultra marathon coming up, which is exciting, and then we've got a few follow on marathons after that, and then we're looking at what's another big adventure for next year as well. So those are kind of things that are going to be helping me towards my main intention of living well and having a long and happy life with people. So coming back to the non-negotiables, it's things such as making sure that I have the right amount of protein that I'm taking in on a daily basis, and really putting protein first. It's one of the kind of the three kind of main macronutrients that for many people just don't get enough of. But it's the one that has all the building blocks in there for bodily repair. So it helps you kind of not only build muscle, build stamina, etc. It also helps with things like when you do get colds or illnesses or viruses, or you've damaged yourself in some way. Because we all get cuts and bruises from being knocked over or whatever. And having those building blocks in place is an absolute must. So for me, I always start from that position is to really make sure I've got enough protein in my diet. That's almost like a non-negotiable straight away. And then the other side of it is just making sure that I've got the fatty acids, so omega-3s and things in there, knowing how important they are, not only just for things like your brain and your skin, etc., but then also for things like your hormonal balances and things. Really important to have those in your diet. So for me, I think those would be the two kind of key things that I would always maintain on a daily basis.
Yeah, and I think if I was asked to ask the same question to myself, because I was thinking while you're talking there, like a non-negotiable, because I was trying to think of something that will never ever change, but that's not possible. Like, because things happen, you go on holiday and you can't do everything every day. But non-negotiable to me in my mind, like if I can do exactly what I want in a day, like I will always make sure to fuel before my workout and kind of have the correct. So I like to have some like healthy fats and fiber before, and then I like to have like fruit in my breakfast for like some energy, and then like the porridge with the carbs, etc. Like I feel like I have that process dialed in, and then like after the workout and the movement, it's a non-negotiable that I like refill my stores of mainly protein, but sometimes it's just a case of like I need some energy afterwards.
Yeah.
But for me, like those two are probably like such a key element of my day. Because like having like a full breakfast, full lunch, and full tea feels like a non-negotiable, but like that can slip more than the others. But I don't think it's as detrimental as not fueling properly between my workouts.
Yeah, I think that kind of pre-workout, post-workout fueling is so crucial, just to make sure you first of all that you've got the energy going into your workout to make the best use of the time. I mean, it's like a return on investment of the time that you're putting in. And let's face it, time is the one thing you cannot get back. You can make more money, you can make all sorts of other things, but you cannot get more time back in your life. You're given a certain number of hours and that's it. So maximizing the return on investment that you're putting into any form of kind of exercise, or it might be, for example, in competition and stuff. If you're going for a race of some kind, then again, same thing. Making sure you're fueling yourself beforehand, so actually you can perform at your best, at your absolute very best in those moments is absolutely perfect. And the flip side of this, and this is what really amazes me sometimes with people in businesses, especially big businesses, is their fueling habits are so poor. I mean, if you can imagine you're in the middle of trying to do it's like a multi-billion pound deal of some kind, or you're trying to deliver a multi-billion pound transformation program, and you're fueling yourself on things out of the snack machine.
Yeah, like a meal deal or just crisps or something. Yeah.
And you're not guaranteeing that you've got the right nutrition profile. And for many people, they don't even eat while they're at work. So that means that they're getting the dip in energy at the moment that they need the most clarity, when they need the most availability of energy and speed.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's almost that thing of like helping yourself so you can help others. Like, I think it's easy. I mean, we're getting better as time moves forward, at least in this country. But yeah, for the most part, I don't think people realize how important like fueling is.
Yeah, and you see pockets of people getting better, but I think general overarching habits are still not quite there yet, and certainly organizational attitude isn't there at all.
No, yeah, because there's a difference, I think, between like what you need to survive and then what you need to thrive.
Oh yeah,
I would say. And obviously, if you are in a position where you are making those like multi-billion dollar like asset transfers or whatever, like you probably do have the funds to be able to do yourself properly and have access to the right food, not just a snack machine.
Yeah.
And yeah, taking that bit of time to have something healthy is probably going to far outweigh all that time that you think you're spending working, but you're actually just like not concentrating.
Yeah, we will put a pin in the idea of the difference between surviving and thriving, and we'll come back to this a little bit more when we talk about monitoring. But just to kind of talk a little bit around it right now, it's so interesting that most of the numbers that people are quoted about what the norm is based on survival. It's based on you not dying, as opposed to
the numbers of the norm of what? Sorry.
Not anything that you look at. So, for example, how many calories you should have, what your BMI should be, all these various different numbers and charts that you kind of get is all based on you not dying, as opposed to actually you thriving.
Not at all based on what you actually do from day to day.
Yeah. I mean, look,
like if you're an Olympic athlete, you cannot follow what he says on the back of a packet is like a daily amount, because it's an insane metric.
Exactly, and it's like, for example, that the difference between being diabetic and non-diabetic is it's 0.1 of a number.
Wow, yeah, that's it is that thing of like, to use an analogy that's like food related, but yeah, like if something goes out of date, like the clock doesn't strike midnight and the piece of chicken is like, oh, I'm going off now. Like it doesn't quite work like that, which seems like the same thing as the 0.1% on the diabetes scale.
Yeah, and we've had that before where
it's less of a switch and more of a spectrum.
Yeah, we've had that before with the chicken, where the number on the chicken is definitely not right. It's gone out of date well before the date.
And it's just a bit too yellow and a bit too gooey.
It's been fodder.
Yeah, there's a point.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll come back around to that one, because there is that kind of big difference between what the expectation of people have in their mind based on what they've been told versus actually what they need for the body. And that's, again, comes back down to that personalization of how they're going to deal with the meals.
Yeah, well, on speaking of meals, could we talk a little bit about meal prep?
Yeah.
Because that is something that I have started doing in recent times, and I think on the build up, in this holiday season, we spoke in the past episode and a bit in this one about how things get a lot busier this time of year, and we were literally just speaking this conversation about feeling right for these meetings and stuff. It does seem like meal prep is important, and it is something we have touched upon in our business before. I think we actually have a YouTube video on meal prep.
Yep.
Anyone wants to go watch that, I could leave it in the description or in the little, where would it be? You're going to have to point upwards because there'll be a card somewhere. If we have got a video on it, I think we do. But yeah, I'd like to talk about a bit of meal prep.
Meal preps.
That was a long intro. I'm sorry.
That is a very long intro. And again, let's just come back to the concept here. So it's meal prep on making Christmas work. That's the kind of key thing here.
Yep.
So this isn't meal prep as in, we're looking for performance of your body or a specific goal. This is meal prep getting through Christmas. So I think
the Christmas day or the Christmas period?
I think the Christmas period.
Okay.
So I think we've got a couple of bits. I mean, one is around, like we touched on earlier. If you're going to go out for a meal, you've got a chance of being able to look at the menu beforehand, do so. That is meal prep. That is a form of meal prep.
Yep,
So
that's
so keep that one in mind. It's a really powerful tool. And again, it can help keep you online, because when you're kind of there, I mean, it doesn't mean that when you get sat down, if you get the menu and they've got a special on, you think, oh, actually, I really fancy that. You know, if it still works for you, make it work for you. But certainly when it comes down to the meal prep side of things, having that understanding of what there is potentially that you should be choosing, or you can choose, that you'd like to choose, means that you can then start to adjust your other meals around it. So, for example, if you're going out for a Christmas dinner with work or with colleagues, etc., or with friends, and you know, for example, what you're going to eat is going to be 1,500 calories, maybe, and that wouldn't be unusual for a 2 or 3 course meal, then you know that if your baseline that you're working towards is 2,000, 2,500 calories, maybe 3,000, for example, if you're doing a lot of running training around it, then you know that you need to make the rest of your meals that day work accordingly. So let's say, for example, your 2,000 calories is your daily amount. Then you know you've got 1,500 that's going to be taken up by this meal. That's 500 remaining. Now, 500 for an entire day, you're going to feel really hungry going into that meal. That's not going to work for you. But what about if you took 100 calories off the previous 6 days? So on the run up to having that meal, you maybe only had 1,900 calories a day. That means that you've now got 1,100 calories, which you can use for the day, which is you can make 3 relatively good meals for 1,100 calories.
So you're making it up, spread out
exactly
over the week, not one day. Because you are right. Because I would have just thought because it's not really something that I do, but I would have thought, like, if I did do it, I would have done the first thing that you said, of like having the more calories in the evening, then just like cutting the other meal short. But then I was thinking, like, you'd be blood crashing, like between, like, you'd just be crashing between meals, and you'd just be thinking of the next meal, then you'd get that, eat it, it's not enough, and then have a really indulgent meal at the end. And I have had days where I seem to have like done that by accident, like not really had time to eat the proper food, and I'm just waiting all day for like a big meal to finally feel satiated. But you're right, like if you were doing like counting the calories, spending it over the week is a much better idea.
Yeah. So that way, I mean, let's face it, your body doesn't.
More sustainable.
Yeah, your body doesn't measure exactly what's coming in. It's not turning around and effectively saying, hey, you've not given me 2,000 calories today. It doesn't actually understand that. What it will do is it will just adjust itself accordingly. So if you're only doing 1,900 each day and 2,000 is what you need to keep your basal metabolic rate correct.
So you'll acclimatise.
Yeah, you'll be okay. You might feel a little hungry, but you're not going to feel dreadful. And again, there's lots of different cultures, for example, that only work to 80% full anyway, and that's a good way of thinking about where you should be. So you should still have that little bit of hunger in you. If you're eating to the point where you're no longer hungry, where you're satiated, for example, as you were mentioning, then potentially you're taking in far too many calories.
Because, been too full, like food coma.
Exactly. Your body is designed in a way to keep you hungry, because it wants you to survive. It's constantly saying, okay, I'm not expecting the next meal to arrive at some point. So it's a survival instinct that this thing kind of is kicking in.
And yeah, just to put a bit of a health nut twist on this, like this is kind of why it's also a bit important to eat whole foods, because I've heard that if you have kind of more processed foods, your brain can't really interpret, because it has like a calorific amount and a certain amount of energy, but your brain can't really learn and understand like how much energy you're actually getting from it. Whereas if you eat like proper foods, like it knows how much energy it's getting from like an apple, but it doesn't know how much it's getting from like an apple sweet, for example. Like, so then you can kind of keep a level amount of energy a bit better.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that one. And yeah, you're right. And I think it's interesting. So, for example, I know even today, we still get a lot of people when we're working with them at the beginning that are so scared of things like, fruit, and saying, oh, there's so much sugar in fruit. I've been told not to eat fruit, and it's got fructose in, because fructose is really bad for you because it goes straight to your fat tissues and blah, blah, blah. And there's obviously a big fear because they've read things online. I mean, most people are starting to try to read through and try to get through the literature, but the interpretation sometimes it's hard. I mean, there is so many different bits of information.
It's just scientifical, isn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of it isn't. A lot of it's just unfortunately influencers with just poor information. Some people are just out there trying to peddle product,
right? Yeah,
quite simply. And
because this is the thing of labeling food as good or bad.
Oh yeah,
basically.
Yeah. So again, coming back to the idea with fruit does have sugar in. Absolutely, fruit will spike if you look at it, for example, from how it's going to on the GI index. It will effectively give you a glucose spike at that point in time. But because it has fiber attached to it and a lot of water with it as well, the time it takes to process that is a lot longer. So while potentially the glycemic index is quite high, when you look at the glycemic load, which is how it actually releases that over time, is quite low.
Well, that's very interesting. Kind of match my experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Whereas versus if you are having an apple flavored sweet, that's going to be high on the glycemic index and high load because instantaneously you're going to get that entire load to process instantaneously.
Yeah, which again, is good sometimes, like from when you're doing your running and eating the jelly babies, but it's very dependent on what you're doing. Like if you're in a meeting, probably eat the apple, not the apple sweet.
Yeah, I'd definitely go with that idea. Yeah, you do not do much running in meetings. It's maybe that's a new thing. Maybe what we need to do is have more meetings while running. Maybe that's the way forward.
on some treadmills. Yeah, so let me just talk about my meal prep quickly, and then I want to talk about like staying on track.
Okay.
Towards Christmas. So, like you kind of, I like how you touched upon meal prep there. I'm gonna go like a bit of a different angle on it, on like using time to save time. There's something that I'm kind of learning. So, as like busy professionals in this realm, like getting time is hard. You know that probably better than anybody. And like the thing with meal prepping that I am like coming to understand and utilize it for myself is like I bulk a bit of time on a day that's often at the moment a Sunday to sort of get my meals like cooked and prepped and in the fridge ready for the week. And I also make not all of my breakfast. I don't assemble the whole breakfast, but I say assemble a part of my breakfast and have everything ready. And taking that like hour, 45 minutes, hour out of my day on Sunday means that every morning is so much more fluent because I just get all the stuff out. It's done, it's ready, and done within 10 minutes instead of taking like 20 or 25 like I might have done before. So I'm saving time on that day, every day. And then the same with my lunch. Like instead of having to like finish from work and then come and cook something, or if I was in an actual like establishment at work, like having to walk to the shops or whatever it may be, it's actually going to take quite a lot of time. Whereas having something that I can just quickly eat or quickly put in the microwave and then eat, like it really saves me a lot of time throughout the week. And I'd say like at this time of year when everything is like super duper busy compared to normal anyway, like just that bit of time that seems at first like a lot on the Sunday just saves me so much time through the week.
Yeah.
And I just think that is like an awesome thing about meal prep. So not just looking at it from like a physiological perspective, but also like a time bound perspective. I think it is like pretty awesome and worth trying. Like it might not work for everybody. Like you might just not even enjoy doing it, or you find you spend so much time prepping that it actually doesn't save you any time.
Yeah. But you're right. I mean, the other kind of key thing with meal preps as well, in that kind of fashion where you're actually making the meal ahead of time, is it makes it easier to make the right choices. Because you're right. Some days you're going to come in, you're going to have had a hell of a day. Things will have gone wrong with work. Things will have gone wrong with the kids at school. Good, yeah. Things will just pile up on you. You've suddenly found out you've got to take the cats to the vets or something, I don't know. And then when you kind of do collapse back into the house to aim for a meal, if it's already prepped and it's there ready for you, it becomes the easy option. And anything where you can make it an easy option, you're more likely to take.
Yeah, because if it wasn't there, the easy option then becomes the crisps and the biscuits.
Yeah,
and
the can of beans or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, so that's kind of the other kind of angle on that one. But you're right, it's finding some of the shortcuts. I mean, so for example, when you're doing the oats as being one of your main meals, because obviously you're training first thing in the morning, and that's what I tend to do. So for me, I do, unsurprisingly, do something very similar. We have oats for it, but I tend to do the oats and whey, usually with some blueberries and things, and that tends to be my pre-workout meal before I go and do anything. Usually I try and have that about half an hour before actually doing any strenuous exercise, so I can metabolize as much of it as I can. But rather than to prep it all, I've just come to the point where the scoop that you get from the protein powder, it's literally 33 grams worth of oats. So now I don't even have to think about it. I just know, for example, if I want 66 grams of carbohydrates, it's 2 scoops of the oats. If I want nearly 100, it's 3 scoops. So straight away, I can start to measure without even having to think about it.
Yeah, which is good. That's like a a kind of meal prep, kind of not.
Yeah.
Like you kind of, it's already like prepared in the fact that it's just like 2 of them.
Yeah.
And done. It saves you time, so you're not having to like get the scale out, put the bowl in it. Like you've got a system
Yeah.
in place. So it's kind of like meal prep, but not meal prep.
Yeah, absolutely. Or for example, if I'm going to have something like midday after I've been for a run or something, it might be, for example, yogurt with whey and fruit. Again, to try and get some of those carbohydrates back into me, and that's simple. It's like half a pot of yogurt, 1 scoop of whey, so it's one of those halfway houses where you suddenly start to find you find you don't might necessarily have to prep everything, but actually you can find some of those things that are going to make it work for you.
And I like that because again, like what you actually said to me before, it's like making that the easy option because because it's easy to do and it's going to like fuel you and satiate you in the correct way without being overfull of anything, and then you're having the right fuel in your body, and that's such a great way to do it. So just before we finish this episode, I just want to talk a bit about staying on track, like throughout the holidays. So I'll let you take this one away. Actually, I'm trying to think of like a question to ask you.
Progress over perfection, I think, is what you were thinking.
Progress over perfection.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, when you're in a period like this where there's going to be so much change, so many things happening, it's back to that idea of resetting your expectations. So effectively, if you can get to the point of the end of this period where actually you have made progress towards your goals, brilliant. If you've maintained the level of fitness, the level of speed, the level of endurance, the level of weight, whatever it is that your goal is based on, brilliant. Because you're in a position where you are moving in the right direction. If you've kind of dropped the amount of strength you've got, or dropped your speed, dropped your endurance, you've increased your weight, etc. Again, depending on what your goal is, that's where, for example, you might be thinking, it's not quite worked. But if it's only by a little bit, brilliant. You haven't made a massive impact into what you're doing there. So all those kind of things are still helping you progress in the way forwards that you need to do. But if you try to say, okay, I'm going to nail and be absolutely perfect on every single day, with every single training session, with every single piece of nutrition, with every single bit of rest, then it's no different to a normal day.
Right.
And the thing is, this isn't a normal period, so you're not going to have all those normal days. So rather than trying to aim for every single thing, and then when it goes wrong, you're beating yourself up again, which is one of those kind of big mental challenges, just accept. It's not going to be perfect every day, but try to make the days that can be perfect.
No, yeah, that is so important. And again, like what we said before, let's don't get stressed about it. Like you just got to have that awareness that you are trying your best, and the best is the best. As long as like you truly believe that you are trying your best and like sticking to it, that's all that matters really. Because otherwise, you just get in a whole hole of like beating yourself up, thinking you're rubbish and you failed, but you haven't. You've just done what you can with the resources available at the time.
Exactly.
And you just got to keep that role of accountability. Stay accountable to yourself, or share these goals with your friends. Because even like I think some podcasts I've listened to, like they often do like this is different podcast doing different things, but things that like little challenges at Christmas to keep everyone, because it seems to be a time where it's like people do like the dry Januaries or whatever, things like that. So having those like little community groups help with that accountability to stay on track. This can be like a real good time of year to utilize that, because everyone is in the same boat and feeling motivated in different ways. Like I'd say it tends to be a new year thing. Well, I can't remember the word used for the work stuff, but it comes in waves. Like there's the build up to the Christmas, and then there's like the January, it's the new year, and then as you say, it's like the summer bod. So if you can like capitalize on these things, like even if other people end up throwing out the window, you don't have to. But if that's what gets you motivated and helps you stay on track at the start, I think that could be like a real good way to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that keeps you effectively going, and so you can accept, just what's going to happen, but then bring yourself back on track when you can. That's the kind of key thing to remember. So, enjoy the parties, enjoy spending time with friends and family, because, that's the most important thing in life. But at the same time, look after and respect yourself.
Yeah, stay hydrated, stay fueled.
Stay hydrated.
Hey, it's important with all that beer coming around.
Okay, so you're going on the beer, are you? That's it. No, understood. Okay. But yeah, you're absolutely spot on. I mean, hydration is a key thing there. So definitely have that as a stay hydrated.
Yeah, for sure. Right, let's wrap this up. Excuse the pun.
No worries. So, as always, a big thank you to everybody for taking the time out to listen to this episode of the Fit for Business Life podcast. The Fit for Business Life podcast is brought to you in partnership with Sharp Fit for Life and the Business Body Network, helping busy professionals and their teams become healthier, happier, and more higher achieving in business and in life. If you'd like to join us as a guest or just to get in touch to know more about the topics we've covered, then we'd love to hear from you. Simply email hello@sharpfitforlife.com. Once again, thank you for listening to the Fit for Business Life podcast. The Fit for Business Life podcast is produced and presented by Waxline Limited. Copyright is applied.